I never thought buying something online could make me feel so uneasy. It started innocently enough. I was scrolling through a local marketplace looking for a camera. I'm not a professional photographer, just someone who enjoys taking photos when I'm out on walks or visiting friends. The ad caught my eye. It was cheap, in good condition, and the seller seemed normal. Their messages were polite, almost overly eager. "When can you pick it up?" they asked. "I'm happy to meet whenever works for you," I replied casually, setting a time for later that afternoon. I didn't think much of it. People are friendly sometimes, I told myself. When I arrived at the address, the street was quiet, far quieter than I was used to. Houses were spaced unevenly, and most looked slightly neglected, though nothing overtly alarming. I parked my car and walked up to the front door. That's when the first unsettling feeling hit me. The house looked fine from the outside, but the front yard was overgrown, weeds twisting around the walkway, leaves piled in corners, and small broken toys scattered in the grass. I hesitated at the gate, stomach tightening. "It's just weeds," I told myself. I needed the camera. I told myself I was being paranoid. The seller opened the door before I could even knock. They smiled, a big, polite, slightly forced smile. Their eyes lingered on me longer than necessary. I stepped inside. The smell hit me immediately, a mix of cleaning products and something faintly metallic that made my stomach churn. The interior was tidy, but almost unnaturally so, like someone had cleaned for hours to hide something. They led me to a small table in the corner of the living room. The camera was there, neatly wrapped in a cloth. We talked for a few minutes while I inspected it. Their questions started innocuously enough. "What do you do for work? Do you live alone? Do you often take photos?" At first, I answered casually, but then the questions became slightly too personal. I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just small talk, but I noticed their eyes never left mine. When I handed over the money, their hands trembled slightly. Not like nervous trembling, more like anticipation. I realized I had no idea what was happening behind that polite smile. My chest tightened and I felt a chill I couldn't explain. I wanted to leave quickly, but my legs felt a little heavier than usual, almost hesitant. I took the camera, thanked them, and walked out. As I made my way to my car, I noticed something strange. They were standing on the porch just watching. Not smiling, not waving, just staring. I kept my head down, tried to get in my car as quickly as possible. The drive home should have been uneventful. It wasn't. Every time I glanced in my rearview mirror, I felt like there was someone, maybe the seller, maybe someone else, watching from a distance. I told myself it was nothing, just paranoia. When I got home, I set the camera down in my living room and tried to relax. But I couldn't stop thinking about those questions, about the way they had watched me, about the strange tension in the house. I kept hearing small noises, my heater clicking, the fridge humming, but they sounded deliberate somehow. Every creak of the floor made me jump. That night, I kept imagining someone in my apartment watching me sleep. I kept checking the locks, the doors, the windows. Nothing was out of place. Nothing had been moved. Yet the unease stayed with me. I couldn't shake it. Over the next few days, the feeling only got worse. Every time I left my apartment, I imagined someone following me. I checked my apartment security cameras obsessively. No one. But the fear didn't go away. Every time the wind rattled a window or a neighbor slammed a door, my heart jumped as though someone was there, just out of sight. And then, one night, I was lying in bed, the camera sitting on the dresser across the room. I noticed the angle of the camera was slightly off. I hadn't touched it. I got up to fix it, and as I moved closer, I realized something horrifying. The strap was arranged in a way that made it look almost like a hand had set it down. My heart was hammering. I looked around the apartment. Nothing. I called a friend, told them what had happened, laughed nervously to convince myself it was nothing. But as I hung up the phone, I heard it, the faintest creak from the hallway. I froze. Nothing had been there when I checked. I listened. Nothing. I couldn't sleep. The next morning, I moved the camera to a different room. And every time I passed it, I felt like it was watching me. Not literally, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had known too much about me, and maybe they still did. Weeks passed, and the sense of unease never left. I started checking the street whenever I left my apartment. I noticed cars slowing down near my building, unfamiliar faces walking by, lingering too long. I don't know if it's the seller, someone else, or just my imagination, but I haven't stopped feeling watched since that day. And the worst part? I keep thinking about the questions the seller asked. Where I live, who I live with, what I do every day. They didn't seem threatening, but now, every time I'm home alone, I feel the weight of those questions like they're still there, pressing down on me. Watching. Waiting. I try to convince myself it's nothing, that I'm overthinking. But deep down, I know I'm not.